001. Latin.
Da des fortunae.
Translation, O God, give fortune or happiness. Notes, a traditional greeting of Czech brewers.
注：捷克酿酒师的传统问候。
002. Latin.
Da mihi factum, dabo tibius.
Translation, give me the fact, I will give you the law. Notes, also.
Da mihi facta, dabo tibius.
Plural facta, facts, for the singular factum. A legal principle of Roman law that parties to a suit should present the facts and the judge will rule on the law that governs them. Related to jura novit curia, the court knows the law.
注：还有
Da mihi facta, dabo tibius.
单数 factum 的复数形式 facta 表示实。罗马法的一项法律原则，即诉讼各方应陈述事实，而法官将就管辖这些事实的法律作出裁决。与 jura novit curia 相关 ，the court knows the law。
003. Latin.
Damnant quod non intellegunt.
Translation, they condemn what they do not understand. Notes, paraphrase of Quintilianus, De Institution Oratoria, Book 10, Chapter 1.
注：来自昆体良的释义，出自的 Institution Oratoria 第10册第1章。
004. Latin.
Damnatio ad bestias.
Translation, condemnation to the beasts. Notes, colloquially, thrown to the lions.
注：通俗的讲，扔给狮子。
005. Latin.
Damnatio memoriae.
Translation, damnation of memory. Notes, the ancient Roman custom by which it was pretended that disgraced Romans, especially former emperors, never existed, by eliminating all records and likenesses of them.
注：古罗马的一种习俗，假装耻辱的罗马人，尤其是前皇帝，从未存在过，通过消除他们的所有记录和肖像来实现。
006. Latin.
Damnum absque injuria.
Translation, damage without injury. Notes, meaning a loss that results from no one's wrongdoing. In Roman law, a person is not responsible for unintended, consequential injury to another that results from a lawful act. This protection does not necessarily apply to unintended damage caused by one's negligence or folly.
注：意味着由于没有人的不当行为而造成的损失。在罗马法中，一个人不对因合法行为而对他人造成的意外、间接伤害负责。这种保护不一定适用于因疏忽或愚蠢而造成的意外损害。
007. Latin.
Dat des incrementum. Des dat incrementum.
Translation, God gives growth. Notes, motto of several schools.
注：一些学校的校训。
008. Latin.
Data venia.
Translation, with due respect or given the excuse. Notes, used before disagreeing with someone.
注：在不同意某人之前使用。
009. Latin.
Datum perficiemus munus.
Translation, we shall accomplish the mission assigned. Notes, motto of
Batalhão de Operações Policiais Especiais.
BOPE, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
注：巴西里约热内卢特别警察行动营 BOPE 的训言。
010. Latin.
De bene esse.
Translation, as well done. Notes, in law, a de bene esse deposition is used to preserve the testimony of a witness who is expected not to be available to appear at trial and be cross-examined.
注：在法律上的 bene esse 证词用于保存预计无法出庭和接受盘问的证人的证词。
011. Latin.
De bonis asportatis.
Translation, carrying goods away. Notes, in law, trespass de bonis asportatis was the traditional name for larceny, that is, the unlawful theft of chattels, movable goods.
注： 在法律上 trespass 的 bonis asportatis 是盗窃的传统名称，即非法盗窃动产。
012. Latin.
De dato.
Translation of the date. Notes, used, for example, in, as we agreed in the meeting de dato May 26, 2006.
注，例如，用于正如我们在2006年5月26日的会议上同意的那样。
013. Latin.
De facto.
Translation, by deed. Notes, said of something that is the actual state of affairs, in contrast to something's legal or official standing, which is described as de jure. De facto refers to the way things really are, rather than what is officially presented as the fact of the matter in question.
注，表示事物的实际状态，与被描述为 de jure 的事物的法律或官方地位形成对比。de facto 指事情的真实情况，而不是官方所呈现的作为有关事项的事实。
014. Latin.
De fideli.
Translation, with faithfulness. Notes, a clerk of a court makes this declaration when he is appointed, by which he promises to perform his duties faithfully as a servant of the court.
注，法院书记员在被任命时作出这一声明，他承诺忠实地履行作为法院雇员的职责。
015. Latin.
De fideli administratione.
Translation, of faithful administration. Notes, describes an oath taken to faithfully administer the duties of a job or office, like that taken by a court reporter.
注，描述为忠实的履行工作或办公职责而宣誓，就像法庭速记员所做的那样。
016. Latin.
De futuro.
Translation, regarding the future. Notes, usually used in the context of, at a future time.
注，通常用于在未来某时的上下文中。
017. Latin.
De gustibus non est disputandum.
Translation, of tastes there is nothing to be disputed. Notes, less literally, there is no accounting for taste, because they are judged subjectively and not objectively, everyone has his own and none deserve preeminence. The complete phrase is, de gustibus e coloribus non est disputandum, when we talk about tastes and colors there is nothing to be disputed. Probably of scholastic origin.
注，意译为不考虑品味，因为品味属于主观判断而不是客观判断，每个人都有自己的品味，不能因此产生优越感。完整的短语是
De gustibus et coloribus non est disputandum.
当我们谈论口味和颜色时，没有什么可以争论的。可能源自于经院哲学。
018. Latin.
De integro.
Translation, again, a second time. 019. Latin.
De jure.
Translation, by law. Notes, official, in contrast with de facto, analogous to, in principle, whereas de facto is to, in practice. In other contexts, it can mean, according to law, by right, and legally.
注，表示官方，与 de facto 相反，类似于原则上，而 de facto 是实践中。在其他上下文中，它可以表示根据法律、根据权利和法定的。
020. Latin.
De legge ferenda.
Translation, of or from law to be passed. 021. Latin.
De legge lata.
Translation, of or from law passed or. Of or from law in force. 022. Latin.
De minimis non curat lex.
Translation, the law does not care about the smallest things. Notes, a court does not care about small, trivial things. A case must have some importance in order for a court to hear it. See, de minimis non curat praetor.
注，法庭不关心琐碎的小事。一个案件必须具有一定的重要性，法庭才能审理它。见 de minimis non curat praetor。
023. Latin.
De minimis non curat praetor.
Translation: the commander does not care about the smallest things. Notes: also, the chief magistrate does not concern himself with trifles. Trivial matters are no concern of a high official. Compare aquila non capit muscas, the eagle does not catch flies. Sometimes rex or lex is used in place of praetor. De minimis is a legal phrase referring to things unworthy of the law's attention.
注：此外，首席法官不过问小事，小事不为大官所关心。参见 aquila non capit muscas， 应不补盈。有时使用 rex 或 lex 代替 praetor。De minimis 是一个法律用语，指的是不值得法律注意的事情。
024. Latin.
De mortuis aut bene aut nil.
Translation: about the dead, either well or nothing. Notes: less literally, speak well of the dead or not at all, compare de mortuis nil nisi bonum.
注：意译为对死者只说好话或什么也不说，参见 de mortuis nil nisi bonum。
025. Latin.
De mortuis nil nisi bonum.
Translation: about the dead, nothing unless a good thing. Notes: from de mortuis nil nisi bonum dicendum est, nothing must be said about the dead except the good, attributed by Diogenes Laertius to Chilon. In legal contexts, this quotation is used with the opposite meaning: defamation of a deceased person is not a crime. In other contexts, it refers to taboos against criticizing the recently deceased.
注：出自 de mortuis nil nisi bonum dicendum est， 对于死者保持沉默或只说好话，由蒂欧跟尼拉尔修归因于契罗。在法律语境中，这句引文具有相反的含义，造成死者名誉受损不是犯罪。在其他情况下，它指的是禁止批评尸骨未寒之死者的禁忌。
026. Latin.
De nobis fabula narratur.
Translation: about us is the story told. Notes: thus, their story is our story. Originally it referred to the end of Rome's dominance. Now often used when comparing any current situation to a past story or event.
注：因此，他们的故事就是我们的故事。最初它指的是罗马统治的终结，现在经常用于将当前任意情况与过去的故事或事件进行比较。
027. Latin.
De novo.
Translation: from the new. Notes: anew, or afresh. In law, a trial de novo is a retrial of the issues as though they had not been tried before. In biology, de novo means newly synthesized, and a de novo mutation is a mutation that neither parent possessed or transmitted. In economics, de novo refers to newly founded companies, and de novo banks are state banks that have been in operation for 5 years or less. Compare ex novo.
注：表重新之意。在法律上 ，de novo 是对问题的重新审判，就好像他们以前没有被审判过一样。在生物学中 ，de novo 是指新合成的，而 de novo 突变是父母双方都没有拥有或传递的突变。在经济学中 ，de novo 是指新成立的公司 ，de novo 银行是经营时间不超过5年的国有银行。参见 ex novo。
028. Latin.
De omni rescibili et quibus da malis.
Translation: about every knowable thing, and even certain other things. Notes: the Italian scholar Giovanni Pico della Mirandola of the 15th century wrote the De Omni Re Sibili, concerning every knowable thing, part, and a wag added et quibustum aliis, and even certain other things.
注：15世纪的意大利学者乔瓦尼·皮科德拉米兰多拉写下了
De omni re sibili,
部分，并添加了一个不定后缀。
et quibustum aliis.
029. Latin.
De omnibus dubitandum.
Translation: be suspicious of everything or doubt everything. Notes: attributed to the French philosopher René Descartes. It was also Karl Marx's favorite motto and a title of one of Soren Kierkegaard's works, namely, De omnibus dubitandum est.
注：被认为来自法国哲学家勒内迪卡尔，这也是卡尔马克思最喜欢的座右铭和索伦齐克果一件作品的标题，即
De omnibus dubitandum est.
030. Latin.
De oppresso liber.
Translation, free from having been oppressed. Notes, loosely, to liberate the oppressed. Motto of the United States Army Special Forces.
注：可大致理解为解放被压迫者。美国陆军特种部队的队训。
031. Latin.
De praescentia Dei.
Translation, from or through the foreknowledge of God. Notes, motto of the Worshipful Company of Barbers. 032. Latin.
De profundis.
Translation, from the depths. Notes, meaning from out of the depths of misery or dejection. From the Latin translation of the Vulgate Bible of Psalm 130, of which it is a traditional title in Roman Catholic liturgy.
注：表示来自痛苦或沮丧之深处的意思。出自圣经拉丁通俗译本中诗篇卷第130篇，是罗马天主教仪式中的传统名称。
033. Latin.
De re.
Translation, about or regarding the matter. Notes, in logic, the dicto statements regarding the truth of a proposition are distinguished from the re statements regarding the properties of a thing itself.
注：在逻辑中，关于一个命题的真实性的 de dicto 陈述不同于关于事物本身属性的 de re 陈述。
034. Latin.
Decessit sine prole.
Translation, died without issue. Notes, used in genealogical records, often abbreviated as DSP, to indicate a person who died without having had any children.
注：用于家谱记录，通常缩写为 DSP， 表示死后没有孩子的人。
035. Latin.
Decessit sine prole legittima.
Translation, died without legitimate issue. Notes, used in genealogical records, often abbreviated as DSPL, to indicate a person who died without having had any children with a spouse.
注：用于家谱记录，通常缩写为 DSPL， 表示一个人在没有与配偶有任何孩子的情况下去世。
036. Latin.
Decessit sine prole mascula legittima.
Translation, died without legitimate male issue. Notes, used in genealogical records in cases of nobility or other hereditary titles, often abbreviated as DSPML or DSPM legit, to indicate a person who died without having had any legitimate male children, indicating there were illegitimate male children.
注：用于系谱记录中的贵族或其他世袭头衔，通常缩写为 DSPML 或 DSPM legit， 表示一个人在没有任何合法子嗣的情况下死亡，表明有私生子。
037. Latin.
Decessit sine prole mascula superstite.
Translation, died without surviving male issue. Notes, used in genealogical records, often abbreviated as DSPM, to indicate a person who died without having had any male children who survived, that is, outlived him.
注：用于家谱记录，通常缩写为 DSPM， 表示一个人去世之时没有任何在世的子嗣，即比他晚逝。
038. Latin.
Decessit sine prole superstite.
Translation, died without surviving issue. Notes, used in genealogical records, often abbreviated as DSPS, to indicate a person who died without having had any children who survived, that is, outlived him.
注：用于家谱记录，通常缩写为 DSPS， 表示一个人去世之时没有任何在世的孩子，即比他晚逝。
039. Latin.
Decessit vita matris.
Translation, died in the lifetime of the mother. Notes, used in genealogical records, often abbreviated as DVM, to indicate a person who predeceased his mother.
注：用于家谱记录，通常缩写为 DVM， 表示先于母亲去世的人。
040. Latin.
Decessit vita patris.
Translation, died in the lifetime of the father. Notes, used in genealogical records, often abbreviated as DVP, to indicate a person who predeceased his father.
注：用于家谱记录，通常缩写为 DVP， 表示先于父亲去世的人。
041. Latin.
Decus et tutamen.
Translation, an ornament and a safeguard. Notes, a phrase from the Aeneid of Virgil. Inscription on British £1 coins. Originally inscribed on coins of the 17th century, it refers to the inscribed edge of the coin as a protection against the clipping of its precious metal.
注：维吉尔《埃涅阿斯纪》中的一句话。英国一英镑硬币上的铭文，最初刻在17世纪的硬币上，它指的是硬币的雕刻边缘，以防止其贵金属出现残损贬值。
042. Latin.
Defendit numerus.
Translation, there is safety in numbers. 043. Latin.
Defensor fortis.
Translation, defender of the force. Notes, official motto of the United States Air Force Security Forces, Security Police.
注：美国空军保安部队保安宪兵的官方格言。
044. Latin.
Dei gratia.
Translation, by the grace of God. Notes, part of the full style of a monarch historically considered to be ruling by divine right, notably in the style of the English and British monarch since 1521.
注：历史上被认为是由神权统治的君主制完整样式的一部分，特别是自1521年以来英格兰和不列颠君主的样式。
045. Latin.
Dei gratia regina.
Translation, by the grace of God, Queen. Notes, also Dei gratia rex, by the grace of God, King. Abbreviated as DG Reg preceding Fidei Defensor, FD, on British pound coins, and as DG Regina on Canadian coins.
注：还有
De gratia rex.
By the grace of God, King， 在英镑硬币上缩写为 DG Reg， 至于 Fidei Defensor FD 之前，在加拿大硬币上缩写为 DG Regina。
046. Latin.
Dei sub numine vige.
Translation, under God's Spirit she flourishes. Notes, motto of Princeton University, New Jersey, United States.
注：美国新泽西州普林斯顿大学的校训。
047. Latin.
Delectatio morosa.
Translation, peevish delight. Notes, in Catholic theology, pleasure taken in a sinful thought or imagination, such as brooding on sexual images. As voluntary and complacent erotic fantasizing, without attempt to suppress such thoughts, it is distinct from actual sexual desire.
注：在天主教神学中，从罪恶的思想或想象中获得的快乐，例如对性形象的意淫，作为一种自愿的、自满的情色幻想，没有试图压制这种想法，它与实际的性欲是不同的。
048. Latin.
Delegata potestas non potest delegari.
Translation, delegated powers cannot be further delegated. Notes, a legal principle whereby one to whom certain powers were delegated may not ipso facto redelegate them to another. A distinction may be had between delegated powers and the additional power to redelegate them.
注：一项法律原则，根据该原则，被授予某些权利的人不得依事实将其重新授予他人。授权与重新授权的额外权利之间可能存在区别。
049. Latin.
Deliranti sti Romani.
Translation, they are mad, those Romans. Notes, a Latin translation of René Goscinny's phrase in French.
Ils sont fous, ces Romains.
Compare SPQR, which obelix frequently used in the Asterix comics.
注：对勒内哥西尼的法语短语
Ils sont fous, ces Romains.
的拉丁语翻译，参见 SPQR， 在阿斯泰利克斯历险记漫画中经常被奥伯利使用。
050. Latin.
Deo acquistare veritati.
Translation, for God and for truth. Notes, motto of Colgate University.
注：科尔盖特大学的校训